y'all, it's Hope here at Crafty Hope, and welcome. It's time for the week 40 mixed media prompt project for hashtag Crafty Hope prompts. Crafty Hope prompts is a challenge I developed for myself. I began back in October and basically made a list of 156 prompts that I'm drawing out of a jar, 3 every week. And then using those 3 to alter a regular old playing card on 2 sides. One side I consider my decorative side, and it just is pretty and includes those 3 prompts, and then the other side has the actual prompts so that I can use these later as prompt cards to pull a couple of them and pick a couple of the prompts and inspire myself later. For now, this is how I'm getting inspired. So once these prompt cards are made on Monday, on Saturday of each week, I take those same 3 prompts and do a different project. So that's this video, is week 40's project. I've done all kinds of things, a lot of art journal and junk journal pages, bookmarks, assemblage pieces, what else have I did? Lots of tags, all kinds of things. This week, I think I'm going to make some jewelry. I've done that before a couple times, and we'll see how this works. So the prompts this week are button, brayer, and mica spray. I've gathered a few things. I've not gathered buttons because I kind of want to see what direction this takes before I pick out the buttons I'm going to use. But then brayer, I have a brayer here. For me, when I think about a brayer, it's almost always going to be either to spread like a paint or something onto my surface. Like on here, you can see some of the texture I got using several layers of mediums to brayer out things and get some texture. I don't know if all those words came out right. But the other way, the main reason I ever bought a brayer was for jelly plates, and I've got several of them, and I've pulled out this one because it's probably a fairly good size for me to play with. So that's, I'm probably going to use this brayer on this jelly plate. And then for mica spray, I've got this bucket here that I pulled out. It's almost all of my Lindy sprays, and almost all of these are the Starburst, which means that they have this layer of mica in there. There's a few like this one that are the flats that don't have the mica in them, but the most of these do. And then I've got a couple of these Nuvo mica mists, and I thought I had a little one that I pulled out, but maybe not. I've got a couple other little mica sprays that I might use depending on how I am feeling. So my idea is I have these laser cut wood pieces. I think these were from Michael's probably. And I'm going to see if I can jelly print a few of these. I'm specifically interested in this butterfly, but we might try a couple of these other ones as well. You can see this was from spring, so you may not be able to find these exact ones at your Michael's, but they may have a summer collection. I know that there are different sizes as well of different cutouts like this that you can find usually at the Dollar Tree as well. So look around if you're looking to do a project like this. There are different places. All right, guys, so I'm going to get to this. I'm going to go ahead and let you know this is a complete experiment. It's not something I've ever done before. But I may have to trash this whole idea and start over. So, and you'll never know if I had to. You'll either see this or you won't. All right, I'm going to do it. My first bit of experimentation with this is by putting some, Liquitex Professionals gesso right onto my jelly plate. I'm spreading it out with the brayer, but I know with these laser cuts, oftentimes when I try to paint on them, because there are so many nooks and crannies, if I use a paintbrush, that gesso or paint or whatever I'm putting on there gets down in all the nooks and crannies. So I am going to put these right onto my jelly plate to get them coated with the gesso. Y'all, this is probably one of my favorite things that came out of this project, is learning to do this. And I will do, I'm using a piece of paper on top to kind of press down, make sure that those get down in the gesso, and I'm just picking them back up off the jelly plate. Now you can still see it didn't get like a super thick coating of the gesso, so I'll put a little bit more down, brayer it out. You see I had to switch brayers. That other one was not wanting to move across the jelly plate, so no big deal. I grabbed one of my many other brayers, and I'm gonna stick these down Again, I'll tell you, I only did one side of these, and I'm only going to use one of these little cuts, but I figured while I've got that whole expanse of a jelly plate to use, I would do several different shapes, so I would have them later. All right, so I do get 2 coats down. I don't even believe I dried these because that gesso was spread out so thin, they dried pretty quickly. I will grab a piece of black construction paper just to pick up that bit of white gesso that's on there because, you know, it is pretty. These work great as like a mask or a design or something for jelly plating later. All right, apparently I had 2 pieces there. So look at that. I've got that for another time. I'm going to go ahead and get the ghost print as well. None of this is about the jelly plate, but I just wanted to show you that I did clean up my jelly plate before I move on to the next thing. And I want to get, what I really wanted to do was try to get some designs from stencils onto the jelly plate. So I saw a tutorial where somebody had put down different mediums first on their jelly plate. This is some clear gesso that I am putting on here and spreading it out with my brayer. And then I will grab a couple of stencils and put them right into that clear gesso on the jelly plate. And then I'm going to grab my sprays, and I'm going to pick out several different sprays and just go ahead and squirt them on there. I have no design, no pattern. I'm just picking out ones, trying to make sure that they are the mica sprays. There's, I think, 1 or 2 that are not. I showed you that green one. I think there's like a purpley pink one. I do end up using that spray later, but it's okay. I get plenty of the mica in here in other ways. So I'm squirting that right on there. And y'all pardon, I do a lot of zooming in and zooming out in this video, trying to give y'all better looks at what it is I'm doing. So I hope it doesn't make you too crazy. All right, once that is on there and still a little wet, I'm going to go ahead and just randomly put down these laser cut pieces into that spray ink. You can see I don't put that butterfly one on there yet. I didn't leave myself quite enough room. So I'm going to go ahead and grab another piece of paper to help press down those laser cuts and pick up some of that excess spray. And you'll see, look at this. See, that one did get a little bit of the design on there. This one didn't really. So it's a bit of an experiment. Maybe if I had let the sprays dry a little bit more, it would have been better. And you can see most of those don't have a whole lot of surface area to pick up the design, but this was a total experiment. So I'm picking up the rest of that spray and everything that's on there, and I'm going to try this in another manner. So this time, you can see I pick up that gesso, I put it back, and I'm thinking for a second. I decide just to grab a big stencil and a couple different sprays, and I'm going to go ahead and just spray straight on to my jelly plate and see what happens. So a lot of the mica sprays, make sure you shake them first. This one I shook and it got everywhere. The top wasn't on completely, so I had to clean up a little bit. But now I'm going to spray it. And this one, I knew that if I put my laser cuts straight onto that, it would just pick up everything and not the stencil. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up that stencil and then put I'm going to put the butterfly down first because it didn't get anything yet. And then the rest of them, I'm just going to place down on the jelly plate. So basically for brayer in this one, you can see I used it to brayer onto my jelly plate to spread out gesso to get gesso on to my die cuts, which I think is, like I said, one of the things I took away the most out of this because it worked so beautifully. Now this one, because I didn't put down that layer of clear gesso first, I'm not getting hardly any of the designs. The mica spray just kind of, I don't know, spooshed all over the die cuts, which is fine. It got color on them, but there's like the butterfly that I want to use and a couple of the others really just got a bunch of that blue-green on it. So I'm going to have to do something about that. So I'm looking at those. These 2 in particular got lots of color on them, but these 3 did not. So I'm going to grab another spray. This one is one of the flat ones, but that's okay. I'm just getting a little color on there and spraying it. And then I grab another mica spray this one here, which is like a golden yellow that I just wanted for contrast on there. So I get it shook up real good, and then I'll spray it as well on there. And then I will dry these 3 die cuts. Now I'll come back in with just the butterfly one, and I've got a tiny little hand drill. Y'all, this can also be done, if I had gotten real ambitious, I would have gone out and just done this with the drill press, but I've got several of these little hand drill type things, and I put holes on either top of the wing and then took it outside and sprayed 2 coats of that matte, it's a matte glossy, I don't know, it's a mixture spray. I did the front and back to seal this little butterfly and get that color sealed on there so it doesn't come off. So now I'm bringing in buttons finally, and I decided to use button cards, y'all. I love, because you know that those buttons match. They're great for earrings or designs where you want to have matching buttons. So I kind of keep my button cards around for that. So I picked out a couple of larger black ones and a couple little green ones that kind of match that green color on the butterfly. And now I'm going to create a wrap loop. I've got a tutorial on how to wrap buttons. I will put that in the upper right corner. I should have slowed this down, but basically I crisscrossed that, wrapped it around, and now I'm inserting that through the butterfly wing and bringing it back up. I will cross the wires here like so, and then wrap that tail to secure that. So I'm going to hold it and then wrap that tail around. So you'll see again here in a second how I insert that wire through the buttonhole to get it started, because we're going to do it like 4 times. So I just wanted you to see how I'm going to attach these buttons to this butterfly to create a necklace. So we'll do that again. I will take the end of my wire, insert it just a little bit through my buttonhole, pull both of those wires up and cross them. The shorter wire I will wrap around the longer one just a little bit to get it secure, and then trim it. I like to tuck that down to make sure it's nice and down. And then just the same way you would create a wrap loop, I'm going to bend that wire, pull it up around over my round nose pliers, and then wrap that tail. Ooh, sorry, that got a little fuzzy there. Apparently the focus couldn't keep up with me. So once that is wrapped, I will trim it and tuck it. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this other little green button. I will insert the end of the wire into one of the holes. Now the second button has 2 holes in it, whereas my black one has 4 holes, so I just work with the buttons diagonally from each other. But again, I brought that through, twisted it, trimmed it off, and now I am bending it, making a loop just like this, and then I will insert that loop into the loop of the other one. When I insert it, I want to make sure they face the right way. That did not, so I'll go in through the back, and then I will hold my little loop I have and twist that tail of a wire around. I'm going to do this one more time once I get this twisted, trimmed, and tucked. And you'll see this one last time. The big thing is, if you're going to attach it to something, make sure before you make that final loop that you get it attached. All right, so I'm going to get a little bit more wire here, and then I will insert it through my hole with that little tail, bend both of those up. Little tail gets bent out, wrapped around. Trim it if you need to trim it, tuck it, and then make your loops. You're going to bend your wire, take your round nose pliers, go up around, and then twist it closed. And remember not to twist it closed if you need to attach it to something. So once I get this trimmed and tucked, I'm going to do this exact same procedure on that other wing to turn this butterfly pendant into this butterfly into a pendant. So I've got that other side. I've got a length of chain. I'm going to cut it in half. And I do that by putting both ends of the wire onto another of the chain on the wire, finding that center link and trimming that center link off. If it is even numbered, you may have to trim 2 links off to make sure you end up with 2 even lengths of wire. Now I'm going to get some tiny jump rings out. I think I'm trying to get 4 out, but I end up with a bunch more because they were all sticking together. You know how that happens. But I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers to hold my jump ring, put that on my button loop and then on the loop on the chain, and then we twist to close chain. What are those? Jump rings. We twist to close jump rings. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Put it on my button, put it on my chain, and twist it closed. Now on the other end, I will also put 2 of those jump rings, but I'm going to add to those jump rings a lobster clasp and 1 other larger jump ring to help it be closed. So I'm going to take one of those little jump rings, put it on my chain if I can. They're so tiny. The chain is tiny. It's being persnickety. And then I put my jump ring on and twist that jump ring closed, making sure it is closed completely. And then I will take that large jump ring, because they come opened, I'm going to go ahead and close it, and then grab that little jump ring, put it on my chain, put the big jump ring on, and twist closed. And now I can put those together for a fun little necklace. Mixed media necklaces are the best. All right, guys, I feel a little guilty about doing a jewelry project, so I said, you know what, we're going to do a bonus project that's a little more mixed media papery and help clean my desk a little. So I've got a couple more of those mica sprays. What did I use? One of them is a Dilutions. One of them is a Wendy Veggie, maybe? I don't remember. So I sprayed those and used my brayer to kind of spread them out so that mica kind of went everywhere. But then I've got those Nuvo mica mists that they don't spray, so I am splattering, I think, them both. This is a gold one, and then the blue one I'm splattering, and then I'll use my heat tool to dry my whole desk. So I have used my brayer, I've used my mica spray, and I am, there, I'm drying that off. I'm going to come back. It didn't get completely dry, so I used my brayer for anything that wasn't dry to just kind of spread it out a little bit. And now I'm going to remove that underpaper, which is just masking taped down. Like I said, this is 2 birds, 1 stone. I needed to change that out. And so this is how I'm going to do it. So I've put down a little bit of a craft sheet, and I've grabbed, I think this is some mixed media paper. It's a little bit thicker than my regular paper. My underpaper is super thin, so I needed something to thicken it up, and this is what I'm going to use. So I'm cutting this down just a little bit. I'm sorry I've zoomed in so much. I will zoom out in a little bit. And I'm using some Mod Podge, which I will put straight on to that mixed media paper and spread it out with a paintbrush. That paintbrush was super dry, and I use it for glue, so it was stiff and it was not doing great. But I wanted to get this done, so I'm going to spread that out again and take my underpaper and put it right on top. I'll find an area that has a good bit of color on it. You can see the edges don't, and I'm using my brayer to help flatten that out to make sure it adheres in all places. So here I brought brayer in again, and everything is sticking to everything because that masking tape was still on the edge. And I'll add a little more Mod Podge where it's not sticking because everything was drying out. And I'm so stingy sometimes, y'all. That's totally a me thing. So once again there, I'll use my brayer again to flatten that out. And then I'll grab a ruler to tear some of that down. I've got little bits and pieces that just aren't sticking. But the brayer worked great to help me flatten it out. You could also use like a credit card or something if you needed to. So here I've got a ruler. I'm lining it up with my paper, and I'm just going to tear down the edges. I was afraid with the back of that paper being white, I was not going to be able to see it to cut it, and I don't cut straight real well anyway. I tear much better than I do cut when I have a straight edge like this. So I'm just going to tear this down, leaving that larger piece of paper. And y'all, I'm going to do the exact same thing on this back because I want to make this 2-sided, because why waste some of that beautiful underpaper? And can you see some of that mica spray like glinting? It looks so good. So yeah, I'm going to put more Mod Podge down. At this point, my paintbrush has gotten wet and is a little more pliable, so that's good.
So I can get all that Mod Podge down. I will grab that bit of paper. I'm going to line up those edges as best as I can. I will end up trimming some of it. And I'm using my brayer again just to get it all like evened out. And where there's not any, well, I'm going to tear it down again just to go ahead and have less. Everything was hitting everything on my desk. Like I said, my desk needed to be cleaned off. It still does. I've not done a great job of getting that managed. So I will tear this down. And I hope y'all are okay with it. Two projects in this. Like I said, I knew that some of y'all may be getting bored with some of my jewelry projects. So I thought, if you're going to watch all the way to the end, maybe I'll have a little bit of a bonus project here. So I hope you have made it to this portion. And I'm just finishing some of this up. Having a problem with that Mod Podge. I probably should have just used a glue stick and been done with it, but I liked using the brayer on top of it, whereas a glue stick that wouldn't have been as great. All right, so once I finally get this all glued down, I'm going to start trimming it and cutting it down to size. Now, my idea was I wanted to make some bookmarks. I've done bookmarks previously, but I didn't keep those for myself. I took them to the library and hid them in books around the library. And I kind of need some for myself. It hit me the other day that I've only got a couple actual bookmarks I haven't given away. That's also one of the free gifts you get from me when you order something from my Etsy shop. I send you a little beaded bookmark, but I don't keep them for myself. So I'm going to, these are specifically for me. And I hope they inspire you to make some too. So I've made these. They're a little long, so I'm trying to decide, looking at each side, which end I want to cut down a little bit. And I finally decide on that one. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, trimming off some of the white space and the things I don't like. And I am going to make one much bigger than the other because sometimes you have bigger books. Sometimes you need a bigger bookmark. It's fine. I'm sure there is some kind of a specific size bookmark should be there that's written somewhere online, but I'm going with my gut. Now I am inking the edges of that with a little bit of distress ink and walnut stain just to give it an aged feel to finish off those edges a little bit more. And once I get this all trimmed and inked, I'm going to go ahead and tell you I take it to my laminator. I love having a laminator. I think maybe part of this project was I just wanted to play with the laminator. So I took that into my office and heated the laminator up and put these in the laminated sheets. And I'll come back here in a second with these nice laminated bits. Here we go. Inside that sheet. So I'm going to cut the first one off, cut it down. When you cut it in this manner, you're going to end up with very sharp corners. And if y'all know anything about my jewelry making, I don't tend to like sharp corners on things. So what I'll do is I'll go get a corner rounder, just paper punch corner rounder. I could do it by hand, I'm sure, but like I said, I'm not great with straight lines. So having a tool like a corner rounder is helpful. So I'll bring that in here and just round my corners. It's really hard to see that lamination since it is clear. I was having to pull it out and look at it and go, did I even get it in there? So I'll go through all of these. Now, you are probably noticing I have not brought buttons into this yet. I've done the brayer, I've done the mica spray. Now I need to do buttons. Well, basically, I am going to use the buttons as a stopper at the top of these bookmarks so that'll be what pokes out of the books and how you can find your bookmark a little bit easier. So I'm finding a couple of large buttons just like that I thought would be nice, and pulling out one of my mini jars of buttons. And I was I thought for a second maybe I would back them each other since these are two-sided, but I was like, nah. And I'm just going to use some embroidery floss. I had to go get some more, and I'll use the same color on both of these since this all came from the same piece of paper. That this dark green color seems to work beautifully. And I'm going to put this on my needle. Normally I cut this out, but since I'm not tying a knot on this, I'm not going to cut it out. And had to decide for a second what was the front, what was the back, what is the top, the bottom. And I am pulling from the front, pulling my thread through, leaving a tail, then pre-poking a second hole at the bottom. And y'all, I'm basically just going to, here in a second, I'm going to have to pull that tail off to the side so it doesn't get tangled. But I'm going through each of these holes 3 times, so it can be nice and secure, just like this. And then I will tie these together in just like a double knot and then trim them down so there's a front. Now, if you wanted to, you've got the holes up there at the top. You could have done just one hole. You could have tied this on any way you want. You can add a tassel to the end of it. I wasn't feeling that. That's just too much for me. I like the simplicity of this. Now, also, I had the opportunity to put any kind of quote or image or whatever inside on top of that under paper, but I chose not to. I really wanted to keep this simple. Like I said, these are just for me. And but there's so much opportunity to like stamp something on there or take an image or a quote or all kinds of things that would really enhance these. But I like that little bit of abstract background of this. Now, for a second, I thought I might do the second one a little bit different, maybe get a different color thread, but I was like, again, these are for me. I don't have to go out of my way, and this is just a bonus project. So again, I've left the tail. I'm pre-poking that hole, and I'm going to go around and through it 3 times. I'm going to pull that tail off to the side and then go through this. And once I get this other one on and tied on, that will be it. So you get 2 projects for the price of one here for a week 40's project using buttons, brayers, and mica spray. I know this is probably not what y'all were expecting. I never know what to expect when it comes to these projects. I sit and I think about what do I want to do with a button and a brayer and the mica spray. And I was thinking maybe I would do an assemblage project, but that just didn't feel right. And I thought, okay, well, what can I do with the brayer and maybe my jelly plate? And something pulled me in the direction of those laser cuts. So that worked. I don't know. These worked perfect. I hope you like this. Give me a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe if you like this. And if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to ask. I am happy to answer what I can for you or direct you in another direction. All right, guys, I will be back Monday with 3 more prompts. I will see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye.